person with the Athletic here in Charlotte. Welcome.
Thank you.
Wondered if you kind of take us back to how this opportunity came up and if you envision yourself getting back into this kind of full time, if you will, on field.
Sure. Well, I had the opportunity to go to the University of Florida, and I've had the good fortune of being able to go back to work for guys who have worked for me. Okay, it happened at BC with Steve Adazio, had worked for me at Western Connecticut and Syracuse, and I had left the Houston Texans and went back to the Northeast in Connecticut, and BC is only about 87 miles, so Steve asked me to go there and help. So that's what I did. That's how I ended up at BC. Matt Patricia got the head job with Detroit. Matt had worked for me. He called me and asked me if I'd go try to help in Detroit. So I did that. Went back to Connecticut. COVID had just hit. And Danny Mullen had worked for me at Syracuse, so he called me and he asked if I would go down to the Florida Gators to be a special assistant to the head coach and work, with the players, more with the coaches, more with advanced work. And I've always had, I got into this a long time ago to be a teacher. I used to be an elementary school teacher. That's how I started. So in my career as a player at Penn State, I wasn't a very good player, okay? Jack Ham was a great player. I played behind Jack Ham. So Jack Ham, the story about Penn State linebackers, and for anybody old enough, they know that the traditional linebacker at Penn State was really pretty good, probably still is. And so Jack was the best, I was the worst. He went on to the Hall of Fame, I went on to be an elementary school teacher, and then started coaching, and one thing led to the next. So I got into it to be a teacher, and when this opportunity came to have a position to get back on the field and have your own group and coach hands-on as a position coach, it was just something I couldn't pass up, because I've done it for so long, So that was the reason, just the desire, to be a teacher and a desire to work with a really good group of young guys who are trying to get better every day, and just to share those experiences. I learned from them, they learned from me, and that was the reason I did it.
You didn't have any background with Matt like you did those other guys, though.
Yeah.
Other than I know he was also a backup Penn State linebacker.
There you go. So when Matt became the head coach at Temple, I was the head coach at the University of Connecticut. So through conference meetings and, conference stuff, let's call it, I got to know Matt. One of my best friends in coaching, George DeLeon, who just unfortunately passed away a couple months ago, worked for Matt. Matt worked with George. I guess it was for Al Golden at Temple, and then Matt became the head coach, and George worked for Matt, and then they came to Baylor, and George went to Baylor. So literally my best friend in coaching worked for years with Matt. So I kind of knew Matt through the eyes of George DeLeon, and having met Matt and had been around him, had a high regard for his knowledge of football and the way he ran his program at Temple, and then at Baylor did a terrific job. I just saw this as a really solid, really good opportunity. John?
Nice to meet you. We know what we've seen from Brian Burns and how good he is, but what were your impressions of the side opposite of him, the guys who will fill in those roles, Marquise Haynes,
Yeah, I think what I love about this time of year is that, and I've always felt this way, as a high school coach in Connecticut, we had spring practice, believe it or not. And then you get into college football, you have spring practice, and then you get into pro football, you have the off-season program, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 OTAs, and then you have mini camp. It's just a great time of year for coaches to coach base fundamentals and techniques, and for players to just focus on the tools they need in their toolbox to play the game. So right now, that's what we're doing, okay? I have not made any evaluations, okay, on anyone yet. We're just working on fundamentals and techniques and concepts of defending the run and concepts, principles of rushing the passer, you know. What are good, what are the most important, the 3 principles of the rush: to get off the move to finish, okay? Easy to say, hard to do, okay? Recognition of pass sets. What are the best pass moves inside? What are the best pass moves outside? So that's where we are right now. That's where I am right now, okay? I'm teaching. I haven't gotten to the point where, okay, here's the evaluation of where we are and who's going to make the team and who's first and who's second. We got guys working in positions, but in my mind, I really don't have a depth chart. You guys know who the good players are, you know. So right now, we're just working, and I'll say this. I'm excited to come in here every day and work because I got a bunch of guys in my room that like to come in, sit down and learn. They listen. They're very, very attentive. They take great notes. They study. They're in early. They leave late. I've been with a lot of teams. I've coached for a lot of years, and I'm just excited and impressed to be with the guys I'm with and how they're working towards having a real good off-season program, which in my opinion, okay, puts us in position to have a good preseason camp. Have a good preseason camp, then you got a chance to have a good start of the season, okay, and then you work from there. So that's where I'm at right now. But I'm impressed with everybody I'm working with.
Will Kunkel, Fox Charlotte, welcome.
Hi, Will.
What's the biggest difference? You've coached at all levels. What's
Yep.
the difference between coaching, not high school, but college and the
Right now, name, image, and likeness. You know, I was at the University of Florida last year, you know, and involved in the evaluation of players and around recruiting every single day. You know, right now, it's probably escalated since January when I left there, you know. So the name, image, and likeness thing, you guys are into that. I'm sure you're up to your eyeballs in that stuff right now. You probably know more about what's going on with that right now than I do. But I'll tell you this, I'm happy right now I'm not involved in it. I'm happy I'm not recruiting, you know, some 16, 17-year-old, 18-year-old young guy who's, you know, concerned about name, image, and likeness. You know, somewhere we got to try being concerned about football and getting good at football. So that's the biggest difference right now.
Is that a roundabout way of saying it's all about football here versus?
It's always in pro football. You know, in pro football, you know, I've been really lucky, really lucky. I've been with some great teams. I've been around some great players. You know, I left Syracuse, had great players at Syracuse, had a great time at Syracuse. Went to the Dallas Cowboys, you know. I get to the Dallas Cowboys, they put me on the offensive staff. I'm coaching, okay, Danny Campbell, who's the head coach of the Detroit Lions, and I'm coaching a young Jason Witten. Those are the guys I'm coaching, you know, just big time guys. And what a way to start in pro football. Then the next year I went over on defense. We drafted DeMarcus Ware. We had Greg Ellis, you know, high first-round pick out of North Carolina, who was a great pro. You know, Marcus Spears, who you see on ESPN all the time, Jay Ratliff. I mean, we had some really big league guys. So I had a chance to coach those guys. Then I went to Miami, had a chance to coach Joey Porter, Jason Taylor, who's in the Hall of Fame, you know, on and on and on and on. So it's a lot of fun in pro football because there's a lot of big-time guys. You know, they're pros. You know, they come into work every day. In college, you're dealing a little bit more, you know, everybody's dealing with social media, but in college, you're dealing with so many other little distractions that in so many other little things that you got to try to help the kids through, that in pro football, you have a chance to just focus more on football. You're still in a relationship business, so you're still, you know, developing relationships with players, trying to help them be the best they can be, trying to help them. The whole thing for me is I'm trying to help every one of the guys in my room be the best they can be and have a job in the National Football League, whether it's with this team or another team, because we all know we can't keep how many guys we got right now. We probably got 90 guys. We're not going to be able to keep 90 guys. So you're hoping that you can have an impact on the guy. You're hoping that you can teach him enough so that he can develop and have enough on film where, he's evaluated as being a guy who can play in this league. So for me, that's what I get out of it, okay? That's what I've always gotten out of it.
Paul, as you learn these guys, this personnel, and are teaching these guys, what have been sort of your first impressions of both Brian Burns and Derek Brown?
Like I said, very, 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 to me, both very impressive. Work, Brian comes in, works like a pro, takes care of himself, studies, he's smart, he takes good notes, he asks good questions. Derek has just been awesome, just been like a sponge, listens to every little thing you say, goes out and tries to do just what you're asking him to do, So my impression of those guys has been very, very positive, very positive.
What has your relationship been like with Coach Snow? Y'all seem to be maybe of the same ilk.
The same generation. You mean you're in a nice way. In a nice way, you're telling me I'm a damn old guy, huh? That was a very nice way of saying, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing at 72 years old, you and Snow? Huh? No, I've known Phil for a long time. I've had a lot of respect for Phil. He used to be in Detroit, and he's a West Coast guy. That's the only thing I hold against him. I'm East Coast, he's West Coast. But in all kidding aside, he's a terrific, very smart guy. Very, very smart. Very, very good football mind. Good football mechanic. Sees it and knows, doesn't look quite right. We got to do this to fix it. Excellent. Excellent. Love being around a guy like that. Those guys they don't grow on trees. So I've had a lot of fun being around Phil. Yeah, he's a good coach, really good coach.
Anything else for Coach?
I actually have one.
Yeah,
Paul,
let's finish up with Mike then.
Mike Solarski, Spectrum News 1. Welcome to Charlotte.
Thank you.
And good to see you again. It's been
Yep.
a while. The list of players that you worked with in the past, that you just rattled off, the Spears, the Taylors, the Ratliffs, that sort of thing, do they all have one thing in common other than being a good pro? And have you seen some of those attributes in some of the guys that you're working with?
Each of them, yes. Each of them have this inner will, an unbelievable inner will to succeed within them that I don't believe will ever be broken. I think that regardless of how tough times could be, those guys have always been able to do this. Okay, if we had a bad Sunday, and you have a bad Sunday night and Monday morning are like the worst when you had a bad Sunday, right? Everybody wakes up, it's like, what happened, And your feeling is, this can't get any worse than this. But at the same time, every one of those guys was able to believe this is going to be better than ever tomorrow. So understanding we didn't do well, okay? Maybe they didn't do well in that particular game, but at the same time, Coach, I'm going to get this corrected, and the whole thing is going to be better than ever, okay? Like immediately, like on Wednesday when we start practicing, okay? Just positive, okay? High energy, bring it in the room, okay? And work, okay, relentlessly with a strong inner will to succeed. Each of them have had that.
Do you see that trait in some of the guys that you're working with? Without naming names, you don't have to name names.
Yeah, I do. I see that on this team, okay? And I see it in the room that I'm working with. Yep.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay, thank you guys.